You don't need another piece of advice. You need a silence that pierces through you, a truth that breaks you apart, a philosophy too big to fit in an Instagram post. That's why today I want to show you what the Stoics and the Buddhists from opposite sides of the world discovered about what truly messes with your mind and what sets you free. They lived in different times, they never met, but they were talking exactly about you, suffering, ego, control, freedom, real life. Two paths, same message. You're looking for peace in the wrong place. Suffering is an invitation, not a punishment. You think you're broken because you suffer, but what if suffering isn't a flaw? What if it's the most honest invitation life gives you? Most people see pain as a detour, as if something went out of control, but both the Stoics and the Buddhists saw pain as a teacher, silent, uncomfortable, but true. Seneca said suffering was a chance to test what you've really learned. To him, pain wasn't the enemy. It was an opportunity to become stronger, fairer, more awake. Buddha, on the other hand, taught that suffering is inevitable, but we multiply it through attachment, expectation, and resistance. To him, pain is like an arrow, but the mind, it shoots the second one. Have you noticed that? That what hurts the most isn't what happened. It's the story you told yourself about what happened. It wasn't the breakup. It was the fear of being alone. It wasn't the layoff. It was what it did to your ego. It wasn't the rejection. It was what you made it mean. Pain is real, but suffering is often a choice. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's not to blame you. It's to set you free. Because when you understand this, you stop trying to erase the pain and start listening to what it's trying to tell you. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate, not resignation, courage, the courage to look pain in the eye and say, it hurts, but I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm going to learn from this. The Buddhists called it dukkha, the dissatisfaction that runs through all existence, not something to eliminate in a rush, but something to understand with presence. They didn't want you to run from pain. They wanted you to walk through it with dignity, with awareness, with lightness, even while bleeding inside, because suffering might break you, but it can also rebuild you in silence.
If you like philosophy, this is where you will learn to silence your mind and live truly, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
You don't control the world, but you can master your mind. Can you control the weather, traffic, what other people think of you? Of course not. Yet even knowing that, you still get angry when it rains, freak out in traffic, and constantly try to be accepted. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You keep trying to control what was never yours to control, and you ignore the one thing you actually can master, your mind. The Stoics used to say that the only thing fully within your power is your judgment, the way you interpret things, the lens through which you see life. Epictetus taught that it's not events that hurt us, it's our opinions about them. The Buddhists go even deeper. To them, an untrained mind is like a drunken monkey jumping from branch to branch, lost and restless. And that's how most people live, reacting, drowning in thoughts that don't even belong to them. But here's something no one taught you in school. You can train your mind like a muscle, with presence, with silence, with daily practice. The problem? You want to change your life without changing your mind. You want peace without ever sitting in silence with your own thoughts. But the Stoics and the Buddhists knew something the modern world has forgotten. True freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not being a slave to everything that happens. When you understand this, the world out there can stay chaotic, but inside, you become a temple. And the most amazing part, nothing around you has to change, only you. Not because you're broken, but because you're distracted, disconnected from yourself, from your center, from your strength. So maybe the real question isn't, how do I fix this? But rather, what part of me is still being dragged by this? The ego craves control. Awareness craves freedom. What hurts more? Losing something real, or losing something your ego thought was yours? Most of the pain we feel doesn't come from the world. It comes from the ego, that inner voice always whispering, you need to prove you're enough. You can't fail. You must control everything. But guess what? The ego is a terrible advisor because it runs on fear and on the illusion that if you control everything, you'll never suffer again. You know what Stoics and Buddhists have in common? Both see the ego as a golden cage, beautiful on the outside, but suffocating on the inside. The Stoics believed humility was an essential virtue. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, used to write to himself, remember, you are just a man, a breath in the universe. He ruled an empire, but fought daily not to be ruled by his own ego. In Buddhism, the ego is an illusion. It's not who you are. It's just a mental construct, fragile, reactive, and full of fear. To Buddha, enlightenment is realizing that you are not that loud voice in your head. Ever caught yourself arguing about something you didn't even believe in, just to be right? Or feeling small because someone didn't compliment you? That's not you. That's the ego trying to keep you trapped in the cage of control, approval, and comparison. But awareness wants freedom. It wants presence. It wants peace without an audience. And freedom in this case isn't escaping the world. It's being in the world without being ruled by it. It's knowing that you can observe your thoughts and not obey them. You don't have to win every argument or please everyone or control every outcome. You just have to wake up and realize you are not the story you've been telling yourself. Simplicity is the highest form of spiritual sophistication. You think you need more money, more time, more answers, but what if it's the opposite? What if what you truly need is less distraction, less rush, less noise? The Stoics and the Buddhists knew this, not because they read motivational quotes on social media, but because they looked within every single day and saw the same truth. The more you search outside, the further you drift from what truly matters. Epictetus was a slave. He had no freedom, no possessions, no comfort. And yet he said, who is rich? The one who is content with what they have. On the other side of the world, Buddha, after leaving behind a palace filled with gold, came to the same conclusion. Happiness isn't having everything, it's depending on nothing. Both of them discovered a secret that still confuses most people. Peace doesn't live in excess, it lives in essence. But the modern world taught you the opposite, that success is accumulation, that status is quantity, that value is noise. But the Stoic and the Buddhist would tell you, the more you need, the weaker you become. The less you need, the freer you are. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. Real spiritual sophistication isn't about fancy words. It's not quoting books. It's being light, simple, present. It's having the courage to say, this is enough. I don't need to prove anything. That's why the wisest people you'll ever meet almost always speak less, own less, and carry a light in their eyes you won't find in any self-help book, because they understood something most people miss. Life doesn't need decoration, it needs presence, virtue, compassion, and the real purpose of being here. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why are you here? Not here watching this video. Here, on this planet, in this body, in this existence. Most people never ask that question. They live on autopilot. They survive. They rush. They check boxes. But they never ask the essential, what is my purpose? When everything else falls away. The Stoics had a direct answer. Virtue. To them, the meaning of life was to live with integrity, courage, wisdom, and justice. No matter what was happening out there, war, betrayal, chaos, the mission remained the same. Be a good person in any circumstance. The Buddhists, when speaking about purpose, pointed toward compassion, the idea that we are all connected and that the highest form of wisdom is easing suffering, not just your own, but others as well. Because in the end, there is no other. We are all pieces of the same consciousness. Now, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what have you been cultivating? Are you living to gain likes, to win arguments, to collect things you'll eventually leave behind? Or are you living to become someone who quietly makes the world better just by the way they walk through it? The Stoic says, be virtuous. The Buddhist says, be compassionate. But together they're saying, you're not here just to survive. You're here to transform. Not with grand gestures, but with small acts, with awareness in your gaze, with integrity in your choices, with kindness in the words you release into the world, because they never truly disappear. The world already has too much noise, too much war, too much ego. Maybe your real purpose is to be a pause of peace in the middle of all this chaos, and believe me, that would already be enough. Between the Stoic and the Buddha, what's left for us? You've made it this far. You've walked through deep ideas. You connected with two ancient paths that, in some mysterious way, speak about the same thing. You, your suffering, your mind, your freedom. The Stoic says to you, accept what you cannot control, practice virtue, be steady like a rock in the middle of the storm. The Buddhist says to you, let go of what binds you, watch your thoughts without clinging to them, and discover the peace behind all the noise. Two masters, two paths, one destination, consciousness. But now comes the real question. What do you do with all this? Because the truth is simple and brutal. Knowledge changes nothing. Action changes everything. It means nothing to understand the philosophy if you don't live the teaching. It means nothing to admire the wisdom if you're still a prisoner of your same old reactions. Maybe what stands between the Stoic and the Buddha is you, a regular human being living in a chaotic world with a noisy mind, intense emotions, and a quiet desire to live something deeper. And that's okay. You don't have to become a monk. You don't have to throw away your phone. You don't have to move to a cave in the Himalayas. But maybe you do need 1 minute of silence a day, one act of presence, one honest look within, a little more awareness before you react. The Stoic and the Buddha weren't trying to turn you into some unreachable ideal. They just wanted this, that you wake up. And awakening isn't a magical event. It's a choice you make every single day. So if you've come this far, the choice is now yours. Go back to autopilot or start truly living as if your mental freedom were your greatest treasure, because at the end of the day, between the Stoic and the Buddha, there's an invitation. Live with intention, fill with presence, and don't waste this miracle that is being alive, here, now, whole.